know what? They're good. They're good for the bulk drinking, but they're not good for fucking taste drinking.
I'm not too experienced with light beers, mostly because I think it boils down to taste. I'm not a very experienced beer drinker, but I think my personal favorite, just the way I like to drink beer is a full regular beer. You know, the light flavor. I don't really count calories or worry too much about like having a light, beer. I don't really worry about it.
By light beer culture, do you mean American Pilsner?
Yeah.
As in the stereotypical Budweiser and Keystone Light and so forth?
Absolutely.
Well, it has obvious advantages to students in the terms that it's so much cheaper than a lot of other type of beers. But as far as general interest and actual quality of the beer, it's not even beer from my perspective.
Favorite beer?
Yes.
Newcastle Brown Ale.
My favorite beer ever is from Virginia City, which is this little town next to Reno. It's like an old touristy trap, old west town kind of thing, and they brew their own beer at one of the saloons there. It's called the Suicide Table Saloon, and they brew this beer called Suicide Pale Ale, and I think it's very delicious. It's definitely not a light beer. It's full of tons of alcohol, but it's also got a really good flavor, and so you can only have one or two of them. But I just sort of associate with good times, basically.
As of yesterday, at least, because it does change from time to time and seasonally so, I would say Kolsch, which is a German style beer. It's pretty drier than a Pilsner.
Well, that's sort of in one way, I'm not really surprised that large companies would do that, because the only thing they want to do is really sell beer. They want to sell product rather than craft something that's rather than craft a good beer. The idea is if people will buy it, we'll sell it, kind of thing. Or we'll sell it and people will buy it no matter what. And I guess if you're using corn as a filler, it's there's some bulk thing to add sugar. It's obviously, it's obviously just a money saving technique almost, and so I'm not really surprised, but I also would kind of turn my nose up at it, If I want a good beer, I'm obviously not going to buy from, a company that would use corn as filler. That's awesome. I think that's a really, I don't know, I think that's one of the best things you can do, as a beer company. Especially with not only is it smart business, I guess, because we have this kind of new national movement of keeping things green, organic, local, etc. And that sort of really fits into that mental awareness that a lot of people are having. And so more people will probably be inclined to buy that types of beer. But I also support it just because local ingredients, well, they seem to be they seem to be away from, this giant agribusiness conglomerate of beer, distribution. And that makes me, when I'm drinking a local beer, that makes me feel like I'm not, that makes me feel like I'm not sort of conforming to these giant ads you'd see on TV and stuff, which is kind of cool. Also, the taste. You're using quality ingredients rather than junk fillers. And really, that makes a difference in your beer drinking experience. It's just it's a better product. It's a better product, and it might cost a little bit more, or it can cost a little bit more, but since I don't drink beer too often, it's awesome. I love it.
Well, I definitely think there's already a place for that. One of the greatest parts about homebrews is you're not limited to a specific set of ingredients. You can use anything you want in your beer, and whereas with a lot of the American beers that are popular right now, it's pretty much the same recipe tweaked slightly. Much of the same hops, the same malt goes into the process. When you're homebrewing, the sky's the limit, and you can use literally anything. So you get a lot more hops available for selection, and the focus is on the process as much as it is the efficiency. Whereas I feel a lot of the big companies out there right now, it's all about how cheap you can make your beer, and that it will be marketably tasty to everyone to some extent. Whereas with homebrew, you don't necessarily make a beer for one person. You make several different types of beer, and not everybody's going to like your beer, but that's okay. You gotta just really explore. There's a lot that goes into the process. It's kind of a creative challenge and an intellectual challenge in the same step. There's a lot of joy you put into it, and obviously the value in creating something yourself is far better, even if you end up paying more for it than just buying something off the shelf.